Shalom, Yisrael. My name is Yashar Yehuda, and the topic of this video today is Spiritual Egypt is America. Again, that is spiritual Egypt mentioned in the Bible is America. All right, so what many people fail to recognize and realize is that the Bible speaks of two different Egypts. One, let's see, hold on one second. All right, so one of those Egypts that the Bible mentions is in the land of the Pharaohs. Okay. And the second Egypt that the Bible prophesies, or that we have many prophecies in the Bible about, is the spiritual Egypt, which is America. Okay? So what you're going to come to the realization is that there are many similarities between the ancient Egypt of the Pharaohs and modern spiritual Egypt of America. All right, so that's what I'm going to bring out today. Is those similarities between those two, and how you'll see that they are one and the same, or it is parallel prophecies. Okay. All right. All right, so next I'm going to be dealing with the capital of America, which is known as Washington, D.C. Again, the capital of America is Washington, D.C. All right, so before the capital of America was called and named Washington, D.C., it was known as Egypt on the Potomac. And the Potomac is the name of the river that is located in the District of Columbia. And that is in the area of Maryland. All right, so we have the river that goes through that region is named the Potomac. And it is akin to the Nile River, just as the Mississippi River is also akin to the Nile River. So there are going to be many similarities that you're going to see the connection. Okay, so keep that in mind. So we know that Washington, D.C., again, was called Egypt on the Potomac. So that just gives you more evidence going back many years, proving that Egypt, ancient Egypt, has a strong connection to modern day Egypt, which is a spiritual Egypt mentioned in the book of Revelations, chapter 11, verse 8. All right, so I'm going to look at the initials in Washington, D.C., the initials. So the D.C. in Washington, D.C. stands for the District of Columbia. So who is Columbia, or what is Columbia? All right, so that's the next thing that you're going to have to get to have some understanding. Okay. All right, so Columbia is pictured here in this image. But who is that? So this particular woman is a goddess, an ancient goddess. So in this particular image here, we see that the district of the goddess of Columbia. So this particular image here is named Columbia. So she is a goddess that these Masons worship. So these Edomites that came from Europe, they came over here and they had these gods and goddesses that they worshipped in their lodges. So you should know that all of the presidents of the United States, they're all Masons, and the congressmen, the governors, the mayors, all of these people are Masons. They are sworn to keep secrets, and you need to have this particular knowledge and information what these people are doing in these lodges that they go to, and they have their meetings, and they bow down to men that they call worshipful masters, and they have these gods in there. And one of these gods, of course, is goes by the name of this particular image here, Columbia. So the DC in Washington, D.C. stands for Columbia. The District of Columbia, or the C in there stands for Columbia. And again, Columbia was a goddess that symbolized America's 13 colonies, going back all the way to the 1730s. Okay, so she is linked or synonymous with Libertas, the Roman goddess, and also the Statue of Liberty. All right, so in this particular picture, you see on the right the Statue of Liberty, and on the left you see the Roman goddess that is known as Libertas. You see they are the same image. They both have the image of a woman, and holding in the right hand a torch. So both of these women, they are synonymous. They are goddesses. Okay. So again, the ancient Romans, they worshipped and revered this particular goddess called Libertas. And Libertas is synonymous with the American goddess that the Masons were worshiping over here, who went by the name of Columbia. So this is the image of Columbia, and this is the image of Libertas. Libertas predates Columbia. Okay, so she's more ancient than the goddess Columbia, but they are synonymous. They are the same goddesses. Okay. All right, so now let's get into a few more scriptures, making the connection with Egypt, ancient Egypt, and modern day Egypt, which is spiritual Egypt over here in America. All right, so this first scripture we're going to read is Revelations 11 and verse 8. And it reads, and it says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Adonai was crucified. Okay. All right. So the dead bodies that it's speaking of here is referring to the two witnesses whose bodies shall lie in the streets of spiritual Egypt and Sodom. All right. So spiritual Egypt here is America. And the two witnesses are symbolic of the two kingdoms of the Israelites, which are the northern kingdom of Samaria and the southern kingdom of Judah collectively. So in Revelations 11 and 8, 11:7 and 11:8. So let me go back and let's read. So let's read 11 and 5. So start at 11 and 5, and it says, and if really we need to go to 11 and 4. Let's see here. Hold on one second. All right, 11 and 4 reads, these are the two olive trees and two candlesticks standing before the Elohim of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceeded out of their mouth and devoured their enemies. All right, so that's just this verse. So this verse is just a reference to the two kingdoms of Israel and the power that the Most High gave to the people of Israel. And it's not just two people. A lot of people try to make it out to be Moses and Elijah, or Elijah and Enoch, but these are just the people of Israel who have power to call down fire. They just have the Most High have given His people all types of power. So these are the two witnesses. All right, so getting back to some more scripture. All right, so next we're going to get into what the prophet Zechariah had to say about ancient Egypt, and he prophesied about a future Egypt. All right, so prophet Zechariah made many prophecies concerning Israel returning from Egypt. Zechariah prophesied during the temple reconstruction era and the completion era of the temple. That time frame is circa 520 BC down to about 515 BC, which was almost 1,000 years after Israel's first exodus from Egypt in 1446 BC. But we see that Zechariah prophesied or was speaking of another exodus from Egypt. All right, so let's get that verse in Zechariah. All right, so this is Zechariah chapter 10, verse 10. And it states, I will bring them again out of the land of Egypt and gather them out of Assyria. And I will bring them into the land of Gilead and Lebanon, and place shall not be found for them. All right, so again, Zechariah prophesied during a time period that was over almost 1,000 years from the time that we had our first exodus from Egypt. So he was prophesying again in a time period of 520 BC. So he's not speaking about the first exodus, because he's used the word here. You see in the beginning of this verse, it says, I will bring them again. So, all right, so speaking of a second time that he was going to bring us out of the land of Egypt. So we're going to come out of the land of Egypt a second time that was prophesied. And that's Zechariah 10 and 10. All right, so now let's get a second witness coming from, Moses. All right, so this is Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. And Yahuwah shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you, or no man shall redeem you. All right, so the key word in that particular verse that you need to focus on is the word again. It says, and Yahuwah shall bring you into Egypt again with ships. So this is the second time. All right. So we know that the black folks over here is living over here in the land of the North in America now. We went through the Middle Passage and the Atlantic slave trade, where the Edomites, they brought us over here in slave ships. So this is what this prophecy that Moses gave was referring to. And again, if you look at the, if you look at the Hebrew word for buy or redeem, it is kana, and it means to redeem you. So no man shall redeem you. That's because the Most High was going to send his son to redeem us and save us out of the hands of these Edomites. All right. And that is found in the book of Isaiah 52, verse 3. And it said that the Most High would redeem us. All right. So that is Deuteronomy 28:68. Speaking of our people going into Egypt again. So we had the testimony of Zechariah in Zechariah 10 and 10. It says, I will bring them again out of the land of Egypt. And then we had the prophecy given to us by Moses in Deuteronomy 28:68. And it says, and Yahuwah shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. So that's two prophecies there. Okay, so next let's look at a third witness, which was the prophet Ezra. Right. Let's see. Second. If I can find it right quick, the prophecy that Ezra gave. Hold on. Jeez, hold on one second. Let me just read it out of the book since I can't find the window. So it's Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 11. And it reads, and I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. All right, so he's speaking of a second time that he was going to destroy Egypt as he did before. So that is a second prophecy. Well, that's a third witness. So we had the witness of Moses, we had the witness of Zechariah, and now we have the witness of Ezra. Jeez. All right, so here's the verse. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 15:11. Let's read that again. It says, and I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before. So the key word here is as before. And will destroy all the land thereof. So this is Ezra, or the prophet Ezra, giving us a prophecy that he's going to bring us out of the land of Egypt, and he's going to smite that land with plagues as before. So we all know that Ezra was way after the time of the first Exodus. Okay, so it was in that same time period as the prophet Zechariah, around 500 BC, 520, 530 BC was the time period for the prophet Ezra. And he made the prophecy that the Most High would bring the Israelites out of Egypt again as before, and he was going to smite Egypt with plagues as before. All right, so that's three witnesses. All right, so let's get a fourth witness, making the comparison between ancient Egypt and spiritual Egypt, which is America, the land of the north, as mentioned in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 23. I want to get that in a minute, but right now we're going to Hosea. All right, so Hosea chapter 12, verse 9. And it reads, and I that am Yahuwah thy Elohim from the land of Egypt will yet make thee to dwell in tabernacles as in the days of the solemn feasts. All right, again it says, and I am Yahuwah thy Elohim from the land of Egypt will yet make thee to dwell in tabernacles as in the days of the solemn feasts. All right, so these tabernacles that's mentioned here is speaking of the tents. Let's see. Let's see, hold on a second, let me find these tents. Okay, so this is a picture of the tabernacles, or the tents that the ancient Israelites were living in and dwelling in when we were in the wilderness for 40 years. This was after the time of 1446 BC, we were dwelling in these particular tabernacles or these tents. All right, so this is a more modern image going back to the 1800s. These pictures of the tents that the Indians, so-called Indians, would dwell or live in. And these Indians were mainly from Ephraim, from the tribe of Gad as well, and even Reuben. So these were various tribes of the 9 nations that made up the kingdom of Samaria that was living over here in the land of the North America, and these people were living in tents. So we brought that with us all the way from the time when we were living in the wilderness after our exodus from Egypt. So that is the witness from Hosea chapter 12 verse 9, making a connection with the Israelites, how we dwelled in the tents, and how that the Indians, so-called Indians, which were the Israelites living in North America, also dwelled in the tents. So again, that's Hosea chapter 12 verse 9. All right, so now let's just look at a few of these pictures, showing you some similarities. All right, so you see how the ancient Egyptians, they would carve straight into the rock and they make their images. And these Edomites, when they came over here, these Masons, they did the same thing. They copied the Egyptians. This is a picture of Mount Rushmore, and they have the 4 Edomite presidents and elders of the Edomite nation over here in the land of the north. Again, this is an image of the Egypt on the Potomac, just giving you reference that Washington, D.C. used to be referred to as Egypt on the Potomac before it was called Washington, D.C. All right, this is just another image of Washington, D.C. All right, another image here of the goddess Columbia, which was the goddess of the nation of America. Another image of the goddess Columbia. She was she came after the goddess of Libertas, which was an ancient Roman goddess. So they are synonymous, though. So this is a picture showing the Statue of Liberty standing next to the goddess Libertas of the ancient Roman connection. So the ancient Roman goddess Libertas is the same goddess as the goddess Columbia. So those are one and the same. They just going by different names, and they are linked with the Statue of Liberty. All right, so this image here is giving you another connection with ancient Egypt and America. So this image is of Memphis, Tennessee. And this is a pyramid in the background, and you have the image, stone image of the Pharaoh Ramses in front of the pyramid. And this is in Memphis, Tennessee. All right, this is the original Memphis in Egypt. So we see that over here in America, they copied the names of certain locations along the Nile, and they would build their temples and have pyramids and would worship these fake gods, these Gentile gods that they were serving. All right, so we see here the pyramid and different temples over here in Memphis, Egypt. All right, so this image here is the hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it's called the hotel, the Luxor Hotel. Luxor, of course, was the name of a province in Egypt. And you see again the pyramid in the background and the Sphinx, and you see the rams out front, and you see the images of Ramses in front. So again, we see over in America the Edomites copying the Hamites and their gods that they worshipped over in Egypt, the original Egypt. So again, America is the second Egypt, spiritual Egypt, as mentioned in the book of Revelation, chapter 11 and 8. All right, here's just another image of that. All right, so you're looking at the back of the dollar bill, And it reads, USA is end time Egypt, prophesied by Isaiah. All right, so if you look at you see the images on the back of the dollar, the pyramid over here. It's just so many things. We see this eagle, which is symbolic of the falcon or the hawk that the Hamites, the ancient Egyptians, revered as a god. All right, so this is the image of the Washington Monument, and it's 555 feet tall, located in Washington, D.C., of course. And they call it an obelisk, or tekken, in the ancient Egyptian tongue, in the Greek tongue. And one of the tallest obelisks in the world. So again, they have that right over here in Washington, D.C., in America, the second Egypt. This is another image of the Washington Monument. And that river there is the river known as the Potomac River. So again, Washington, D.C., before it was named that, it used to be called Egypt on the Potomac. So that river is the Potomac River. And again, you can see the Washington Monument from that river. All right, so now I'm going to get you Jeremiah 23, verse 7 and 8. And it says, Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahuwah, that they shall no more say, The Lord liveth, or Yahuwah liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahuwah liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country. All right, so the key phrase here is the north country. So that is a prophecy dealing with the North America, which is where the United States, of course, is. So this is an ancient prophecy dealing with the United States of America, or the North, the land of the North, or North America. All of these are the same thing. All right, so again, we went over Hosea 12 and 9. This gives the prophecy of the tents. And these are the tents that the so-called Indians would dwell in. And these are the tents that the ancient ancient Israelites were living in during the wilderness time of 40 years. And again, we had the witness of Zechariah speaking that the Most High would bring them again, also out of the land of Egypt. And this is the witness of Ezra speaking that he would bring us again with a mighty hand from Egypt, and he would smite Egypt as he did before. This is just an image showing the comparison between the falcon, or this hawk bird that the ancient Kemetic people, or the Hamites, they revered and worshiped this bird. And you see the Edomites over here, they have the eagle, which has the white head, which is the white man. You see the connection there between those two birds. They are very similar. They are birds of prey. All right, so this is just an image again of the dollar bill hidden in plain sight. And it says Egypt again, and it mentions swift as the eagle flies. So those are all prophecies mentioned in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy 28:68, we come into Egypt again, and as swift as the eagle flieth. So it's making a connection, it's giving you clues what to look for. And that if you know any history about the Edomites, you know that the Edomites worshipped an ancient image of a god, which was the image of an eagle, and it was called Kas. Klas or Kas. It's an ancient eagle goddess. So the Edomites always had a strong connection and reverence for the eagle. All right, so this is the last image, and it says, I will send thee back again to Egypt by ships. And you see the bottom image of our people in the cotton fields picking the cotton for the Edomites. And you see the Masonic pyramid above and the slave ships over here in the top left corner. So this video was about the spiritual connection that America has with ancient Egypt. So spiritual Egypt is America. America is the second Egypt. Again, if you want to get some more edification, you can visit my Facebook page, Yashar Ministries, Make Straight the Way of Yahuwah. Or you can just watch my videos on YouTube, Yashar Ministries. Thank you.